Well, after saying last month it would remove all counter tariffs on U.S. goods covered under CUSMA, new reporting from the CBC has found out that the Liberal government quietly dropped more of those tariffs than advertised. The CBC's Kate McKenna broke the story, and she joins me now. So, Kate, walk us through what you found out here.
Well, David, we all remember last month when Mark Carney announced that the government was going to be dropping some retaliatory tariffs in order to kind of push ahead with trade negotiations with the United States. So at the time, the Prime Minister said that he was essentially going to be matching what the United States was doing to us, which is to say counter tariffs were going to be dropped on CUSMA-compliant goods.
Right.
So goods that were compliant with the existing free trade agreement. Implying that if a good wasn't compliant with CUSMA, then it would be tariffed. Take a listen to what he said at the time.
The Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA.
Now, almost a month later, we've learned that's actually not what happened. Canada has removed all counter tariffs, regardless of whether a good was CUSMA compliant, except for, of course, the sectoral tariffs on steel, aluminum, and auto. And they never actually communicated that to the public. We found it by reading an order in council, which was never publicized and required me to ask a number of questions from the government. So this was not something that they ever told the public. Now, there might be good reasons for why the government did it. I spoke with a couple of trade lawyers who told me that it would have been extremely costly to enforce. It would have required hiring more people at the border. The amount of money, that revenue that was generated probably would have been almost negligible because most goods, if you do the paperwork, are CUSMA compliant, right? So one trade lawyer I spoke with said, this was admirable bureaucratic restraint. However, it's not what the government said that they were doing. It's not what Mark Carney said he was going to do. And the reality of it is they implied that Canada and the U.S. were doing the same things to each other, and in reality, that's not actually what happened. So we heard from Pierre Poilievre today. He posted on social media saying this is another elbows down lie. Now, in a statement, the finance minister's office says they do what they do because they want to adapt their trade policy, both to get a new deal done and also to help Canadians the best that they can.
Right. That was the argument, though, for dropping the CUSMA-compliant tariffs. There's been no broader explanation on the balance there, right? Because he says matching, but it's 25% on steel and aluminum versus 50%. But the explanation for why they dropped the non-CUSMA-compliant goods from tariffs is just to advance trade. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. They told me they told me that it's true what we're reporting, but they didn't go into detail as to why in their response to me.